In this episode of Designer Notes, we're going to review the uhrwerk of microbrands. We're going to talk about the new Nautilus 5811 from Patek Philippe, and I continue to fumble how the Submariner is supposed to be pronounced in our viewer comments. Let's begin with the product review. Atowak has been at the forefront of microbrand innovation, and with this latest release from the brand, it is undoubtedly their magnum opus. Find out why. This video is brought to you by Atowak. Back for another round of innovative timepieces, Atowak is proud to present its latest collection, the Cobra. This gorgeous timepiece, in my opinion, is the greatest design this young brand has ever produced. If the packaging is of any indication, Atowak went all out on this amazing watch. The dimensions are 43mm wide and 50mm in length. It comes in hefty at 16mm thick with a 30-meter water resistance. Behind the case is a partial display window showing off this heavily modified Miyota 9039. It's a massive watch as far impressions go, but equally fun to toss around. On my unimpressive 6¼ wrist, this hulking watch actually feels comfortable and compact. At least until you view it from the side, that is. Each Cobra will come with a 2-strap setup giving you a dressing option. This actually helps quite a bit for this silvery steel model. The leather strap is a big upgrade compared to the previous offerings by Atowak. This one uses a very thick but supple leather material with robust lug bars for that quick change mechanism. I love the bulge at this lug area that gives this a subtle automotive impression. Underneath is a very clean strap lining that's also crisply cut and signed with the company logo. Back up to the case, the crown is a one-step operation. Pull it out and set the time. You can now observe and be amazed at the revolving satellite hour wheel as it hovers over this retrograde scale. It's a clever design that's also carried over to the strap mechanism. With a simple inward pull, you can detach the strap with relative ease. From this angle, you can clearly see why it's called Cobra as well. Setting aside the leather strap and putting back the bracelet on is equally straightforward. As you push the bars between the lug clamps, you'll notice that it needs little effort and a satisfying click tells you you've secured the connection. Now it's ready to jump onto your wrist once again. Under a macro lens, the amount of pleasing details on this watch is staggering. This multifaceted case is also executed with multiple finishes. However, the execution is not perfect. This 16mm case could have been considerably thinner by lowering this case ceiling closer to the hour wheel. There must be a reason for it, but so far it eludes me. Another thing that won't evade your eyes is the beautiful satin finished bracelet. It's thick but nicely complemented with a solid butterfly clasp. The lug connections also has a very wide range of articulation that definitely helps with the wearability on your wrist. This significantly shortens the lug distance as well, making it fit smaller wrists. This is achieved with a solid metal connection point with a reinforced clamp. The angle of this structure remarkably manages to be unintrusive to the wrist. Functionalities aside, the case adds a bit of interest with this carbon fiber pattern like a modern hypercar on your cuff. Sapphire crystals adorn this canopy, providing scratch resistance from daily wear. And underneath the glass, more details can be observed. This retrograde scale is nicely textured, so when light shines over it, an added character to the part is revealed. The hour wheel also shows this same hidden ability with its carbon fiber frames. Blend this together with the shiny aluminum parts and light play is maximized. These lightweight parts help to make the operation of the hour wheel smoother. As you peek over to the smaller display window, you can also marvel at the satellite hands as they change numerals. This mechanism was hidden from the brand's previous collection, but now can be enjoyed in plain sight. It's nice too that you can turn the other way and it would still work. Atowak did not skim on the details under the hour wheel, as this is also decorated with Geneva waves. There's just so many textures on this case that it takes advantage of light play. It's one of the understated strengths of this design that just grows on you. So much so that even in the absence of light, the lume carries the spectacle adequately. I have suggested before that a running seconds indicator would really make this my favorite modern watch. But even without it, the Atowak Cobra still slithered its way into my rotation, and not just sit on my wrist for a day, but also hijack my other watch's scheduled turn. An uhrwerk 210 titanium is also welcome to work its way into my collection, but very unlikely of course given its six-figure retail price. This one drops 2 zeros and will retail at only $19.99. But it gets better. Prepay $50 and you can redeem a massive $500 discount 3 days after the launch. Atowak is unmatched for their value and ingenious complications. Somehow, this brand manages to price it down to mere mortals' pockets, and this latest collection continues this mantra. Now I need to find a way to work this in my rotation, else risk a gshock rebellion. This amazing watch will be launched on October 27, and we have a sign-up link on the description below to take advantage of that $500 discount. Now keep in mind that this sign-up link will be removed after the launch, so take advantage of this sweet deal for the Atowak Cobra. Last year, Thierry Stern, Patek Philippe's CEO, announced that the Nautilus 5711 Tiffany version will be the last model of the lineup, and it will be discontinued thereafter. Many people are actually skeptical if this is going to happen, and lo and behold, they are actually right. After just 8 months out of the catalog of Patek Philippe, the 5811 Nautilus was released. Now, while many people are debating whether this is actually good or bad for the brand, Patek Philippe is quietly and calmly showing us that they have this planned out. All the fuss is about the release of the updated Nautilus, the 5811. Beside the 5711, the first major difference is the case diameter that grew 1mm compared to its outgoing model. The case is also slimmed down ever so slightly by 0.1mm. It now uses an updated caliber, the 26-330, that sports a hacking seconds feature that was absent from the caliber 324. The 5711 has a bracelet that seemed to have been left behind by modernization with its outdated fold-over clasp and friction lock mechanism. This too was updated with a more seamless enclosure and the use of trigger buttons to secure the bracelet. This is not something new, as some models of the Nautilus already use this more elegant bracelet, such as the 5740. It's finally on the 5811 and very much appreciated, if not long awaited. For this particular launch, a subtle more major deviation is that the 5811 is offered as a white gold watch. The 5711 is historically manufactured in stainless steel, and we have no doubt that the eventual steel 5811 will be offered. How can we say or expect that this is an eventuality? This is because of narrative and conversation. A narrative is simply put a story of something. More elaborately, it's a story or a description of a series of events, according to the Cambridge Dictionary. The narrative is that at some point Patek Philippe was born, forced to change, released the Nautilus, became horology royalty, and continues to live on. It's a classic 3-act structure with a predictable trajectory and thoroughly explains the whole fascination about the brand. This same structure makes a movie or story compelling. It taps to our emotional reaction to the catharsis that's created by this resolution of the story. In The Dark Knight, we followed Gotham's journey as it gives rise to Batman and the Joker. We saw them engage numerous times, climaxing to Gotham City's decision to stand up against evil through their choice. This provides a resolution to our protagonist and antagonist, a wholly satisfying end to the current narrative. Thierry Stern created this climax in the current narrative of Patek by discontinuing the 5711. But does releasing the 5811 so soon delivers that satisfying resolution to the Nautilus saga? Actually, there are more plots to this latest release than what we could be perceiving. Let's examine it further. Using the 5711 parts, we can observe some interesting details. The previous model uses a 3-case construction. The 5811, however, goes back to the 2-case construction by fusing the caseback and mid-case together. This makes the caseback cleaner with the grooves being eliminated. They then reoriented the lever and crown mechanism on the dial side, making the servicing part easier. Then the frame of the date window that we've been seeing in the latter 5711s is included in this latest iteration. And finally, the bracelet now includes some micro adjustments on both sides, a comfortable upgrade. What's telling about these is that all of these upgrades are meant to refine the Nautilus even more. They may seem significant but nothing groundbreaking. The fact that they couldn't hold for more than a year to release the 5811 means it's not meant to be a resolution, but another step to push the narrative. That's where the conversation comes into play. All of this is to create a buzz among the fans and viewers. By creating a climactic event, our conversations fuel the ever-so-churning hype machine. It was all part of the plan. We all predicted that they will not kill their cash cow, much like Warner Brothers can't help but milk Batman with every next new movie. It does keep the investors happy after all. In the end, it's a business that relies quite a bit on the dialogues and narratives that we create. Patek Philippe is simply doing something that's really a standard practice in any industry, which is upgrading their flagship model. Now, whether you believe the hype or not, Patek Philippe has this all planned out as a blueprint for a conversation. Actually, a very expensive blueprint at that. And now it's time for your viewer comments. Let's begin with Everyday Watch Guy. Hypothetical. For the next year, you can choose to wear or keep as many Casio models that are released during that time as you want, or choice of wear or keep only one Rolex sports watch, stainless steel sports watch model the entire year. What would you pick and why? Kind regards. So what will it be? Rolex or G-Shock? For me, it's going to be G-Shock all the way. It may sound illogical, especially knowing the values of Rolexes in our current market, but G-Shock has always been, to me at the very least, a much more interesting brand than Rolex. One, because they've always been doing interesting stuff and upgrading their model lineups constantly with many different technologies and interesting designs. Second, they also have an artisan branch, which is the MRG lineup, wherein they're doing some spectacular and tremendous work when it comes to hand finishing and artistic expression when it comes to their watches. Also, if you're looking at the value side of the proposition, I'm going to have a ton of really cool looking limited editions, especially for this upcoming year with the 40th anniversary editions, and this will in some ways be more valuable than any Rolex watch that you could think of, because we're comparing a whole collection opposed to just one. Now, we are going to have to consider also that G-Shock is also capable of producing some really high value and high quality pieces, such as that all solid gold full metal square that was released as a commemoration of the original G-Shock, and that alone was $75,000 on retail, and it's now pitching multiples of that value at the moment. So they are also capable of really high-end values. You just have to pick which collection you have. Jesse ponders, I wonder what people think of us when they see us taking pictures of our wrists. Well, that's a very good question. Now, if you go into Instagram and you see all of those foodie shots, it's something that's really not new to the public now. Maybe back in a few years ago, it kind of looks awkward and you may even be embarrassed to take photos while others are looking, but nowadays it's really just normal. But let's have a little bit more fun with this. I asked some of the YouTube enthusiasts what they think about this very same question. Let's take a look.
Oh, Designatel is here in the house and he has a question.
What do you guys think people are thinking about us when we take wrist shots in public? Well, probably they think you are just taking a selfie like everybody else.
Everybody's staring at their smartphones.
Yeah.
They're not looking at other people anymore. Yes.
I think it's really part of the norm now. People just taking random photos of themselves. I think they don't even think about whatever.
I tried not to do my wrist shots in public, so I'm trying to get around the problem.
You don't want to be too nerdy in public.
Well, I'm nerdy enough without wrist shots, I would say, but that's okay.
Catch up here. Design Atelier, great to see you. When people see us taking wrist shots in public, what do you think they are thinking about? They think that we're crazy, probably. I mean, if you're in New York, no one notices anything you do. But yeah, I was at a bar last night with a viewer. Turned out to be a great dude. Had a great time drinking and shooting the shit about watches and various other things. And there was a table right next to us. They were looking.
Okay, let's pause there for a moment. When Oshin starts to talk about bars, dinners, and wine, you know it's going to take him around 4 hours to finish his story. But we get the point. Let's move on.
Design Atelier. When we take wrist shots in public, what do you think people are thinking? I don't think people have any bearing on okay, here's honestly what I think. I think people around you don't pay attention to what you're doing as much as you think they do. That's like the big truth bomb I can give you. I don't think people pay attention to what you're doing that much. It used to weird me out when I was in public, like shooting something or like trying to get a quick sneaky shot. And now I'm like, people really don't pay attention to me because they might look at me and think like, oh, what's he doing? And then like they'll be too concerned with how people are viewing them, and then they move on with their life. So I don't think people really care.
Design Atelier, Paul, when we take wrist shots in public, what do you think people are thinking? Do you know what, Jason? That's a really good question. I was out in Brighton just yesterday, and I was like this. And no, I'll tell you where I was. I was in the Apple store looking at the new Apple phone, the iPhone 14. And I'm testing the camera, and people are looking at me thinking, this bloke's a bit weird. So they probably think we're a bit weird, mate, to be fair. Yeah, they probably think we're a bit strange.
So there you go. It's either there's like millions of crazy lunatics out there with expensive watches, or just like what I said in the beginning, people just don't pay attention to us taking screenshots or wrist shots in public. What I would say that probably people won't be thinking is that you're not going to crap out that Daytona a few hours after that wrist shot. Unlike, of course, that filet mignon that you just took a bite of. CR writes, in your conditioning portion, you show a GA100, not a GA110. Okay, CR here seems to have caught me creating another visual error in one of my videos. But if you look closely, is CR actually onto me or not? Now let's go back to that very same video, and you could see a replay of what actually happened. The first component is audience conditioning. 3 of the flagship models from G-Shock are the GA110, DW5600, and the most recent hit, the GA2100. Okay, freeze it right there. Now, if you look closely, zoom in really hard, and you'll find, what is this? What is this? A GA110. Yes. So, I actually put the GA110 there, disguised as a GA100. Because, after all G-Shocks are relatively different, although they look the same. But nobody notices it until they pay close attention to my videos. So CR, pay attention to my videos more closely next time. And finally, Cosmodoc says you cannot use a Rolex ad from Britain to show the correct pronunciation of Submariner. Rolex is a Swiss brand, so you should use a Swiss or German ad. Well, I went to Rolex website and I changed it to English to German, and I still found the same British speaking ad. So I tried long and hard to actually find any German speaking Rolex ad with the Submariner on it, and I couldn't find any. So I went to the next best thing and actually looked for some German speaking YouTubers and how they pronounce Submariner. Many of them still pronounce Submariner, but lo and behold, Cosmodoc might be onto something. This YouTuber actually pronounced it as Submariner. Take a listen.
Schöne Rolex, und zwar Submariner. Mal gucken, ob wir sehen können so ein bisschen mehr. Submariner.
Okay, let's freeze it right there. But look closely at this German YouTuber's forearm, and I was surprised what I found. Let's zoom in a little bit closer, and there you go. It's actually a Davy Jones tattoo. What does this mean? This can only mean one thing, that this German YouTuber is also a pirate. Now this opens up a whole new dilemma for Cosmodoc, whether he should be trusting this Arubian Filipino pirate about how to pronounce the Submariner, or this German YouTuber who idolizes Davy Jones on how to pronounce it in the German language, at least for his pirate tongue, the Submariner. I'll leave Cosmodoc to decide on this one. And now some parting words of wisdom from Mr. Zelos. About the Tag Heuer Connect Mario Edition, to quote a great movie line, your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could that they didn't stop to think if they should. Thank you, Mr. Zelos, and you truly are a treasure trove of wisdom and wise words. We're going to end it there and see you next time. Let's begin with the product review. In this, In this episode of the Designer Notes, 8 months later, they're actually right. We have the 5811 in our hands, and, well, not in our hands, but already announced. This amazing watch will be launched on October 27. We do have Patek Philippe is not really doing anything. Simply doing the